Hello, this is Dr. Paul Inselman, and welcome to the webinar, What Every Chiropractor Must Know in Order to Thrive in the Present 2013 Economy and Beyond, with a special focus on Your Thoughts Create Your Reality. This program has been researched and produced as a service to our great profession by Inselman Coaching. You know, every day I speak to chiropractors across the entire United States and Canada, and I have to tell you that many of our brother and sister chiropractors are really hurting in this economy. We're at a crossroads with our profession, and I truly believe that by helping one chiropractor, one office at a time, we will begin to rebuild our great profession. So let's talk about what we're going to cover today. First, we're going to talk about some disturbing trends that have been uncovered in our great profession. Number two, we're going to talk about 12 challenges that every chiropractor must overcome in order to survive. However, I don't want you to think in terms of just surviving. We're going to talk about critical steps that every chiropractor needs in order to thrive in the current environment. We are also going to talk about how our thought process actually works, how we can create better thoughts, and 6 additional challenges that the profession is facing, and finally, how you can get some help. Let's go over some statistics and trends. According to Chiropractic Economics, the May 22nd of 2012 edition, in 2008, the average chiropractic salary was $111,263. That has dropped in 2012 to $82,500, or a 28% decrease from last year. The hours worked, according to the same study, in 2008, chiropractors worked 31 hours per week, and we crept up until we've reached a pinnacle in 2010 of 33.3 hours, and then we crept back down, and in 2012, we're working on average 31.6 hours per week. Patient visits per week, according to the same study, in 2008, chiropractors were seeing 120 visits per week. In 2011, we went up to 122.5 visits per week, and then in 2012, we fell off of a proverbial cliff, and we're now seeing 106.5 visits per week. The same study, PVA, in 2008, our PVA was 33.7 visits. In 2011, we saw a whopping 60.2 as our PVA, and in 2012, we fell off a proverbial cliff again, where we're seeing 21.4 visits on average as our PVA. So let's go over some analysis. Chiropractors are working longer hours. Chiropractors are seeing fewer new patients. Chiropractors' PVAs are worsening. Chiropractors are earning a whole lot less money. And the bottom line, our chiropractors are working harder. We are not working smarter. So what do the experts say? Well, the same study from Chiropractic Economics talked about, because of these headwinds, it's important that all healthcare providers, not just chiropractors, understand the business side of running and maintaining a practice. As we've stated before, DCs did not go to school to learn how to run a business. They went to school to get sick patients well. On January 5th of 2012, CNN wrote an article entitled, "Doctors Are Going Broke." And they were quoted as saying most doctors in private practice experience a 10 to 15% profit leak, which can lead to significant losses in your bank account. So why is this happening? It's scary to think that 1 out of 2 Americans, that's 1 out of 2 people that are sitting in your waiting room right now, are very uncomfortable with the amount of their household debt. This is a problem because this national debt is of epidemic proportions. If we then factor in high gas prices, we haven't even seen the iceberg yet. We're just seeing the tip of the iceberg. And what I mean by that is we really haven't seen inflation yet. You know, it costs so much more money to truck a carrot that has grown in California to New York. And what ends up happening is because of these high gas prices, eventually we're going to have major inflation. You can see it now when you walk into the supermarket. Eggs, cheese, beef, poultry, they're all higher in price. So if you now couple that with a very bad housing market, and then couple that with where we've been over the last couple of years with extremely high unemployment, what it does is it decimates the middle class, and it makes them and puts them into the lower class, while it puts the lower class into the poverty level. Now what's happening is a majority of Americans now say that they are worried about making their mortgage or their rent payments. And then, of course, we have government regulation. I don't know if you heard what happened here in the state of Florida, but we went from a $10,000 PIP cap with no referral needed to a $2,500 PIP cap with a referral needed to go to a chiropractor. They're also citing the success of the Medicare program, and they're talking about further cuts in payments to doctors in the Medicare program. And we all know how good that's been for us. So what does this mean for patients? Well, people have to choose between paying for your services and food and gas and rent and their mortgage payments. They have school payments for their kids. They'd like a car. They'd like to go on vacation. And they do need health insurance. What does this mean for you? The roller coaster ride. If you've been in practice any longer than 2 or 3 years, I'm sure you can relate to that really nice roller coaster ride. Patients are coming in, money's flowing like wine, everything is great, and then all of a sudden it shuts off and you hit that hairpin turn and that big stomach-wrenching drop. The roller coaster ride. So, according to that chiropractic economics study, chiropractic income is down $33,000. What does $33,000 buy? Well, it buys a whole lot of gas at $4 a gallon. If you have credit card debt, it could save you about $5,000 a year. It could buy you a 2013 Ford Mustang, and it can get you 4 years of tuition at the University of Florida as a resident state fee. It can also give you a very nice down payment on a house. So chiropractors are staying awake, worrying about higher bills, fewer new patients, more government regulations, and lower profits. The first wrong step that most chiropractors take is they will cut advertising. You see, commercial clutter makes it very hard to get noticed. Commercial clutter is this. Think of the number of emails that are sitting in your box. Think of the number of text messages that you get. Think of all the print advertising, radio advertising, and TV advertising that hits you every day. Well, it hits everybody else also. So what happens is chiropractors think that by cutting advertising they're going to save money. The challenge is that we need more exposure, not less. So that's the first wrong step to take. The second wrong step that chiropractors make is that they cut their advisors. They'll cut their accountants, they'll cut their coaches, they'll cut their legal team. But it's important to note that these people were hired. Why? Because they're there to advise you in good times and bad. And quite frankly, we need more advice in bad times because we get emotionally involved. So an advisor is a neutral third party that doesn't get emotionally involved. Can you think of Donald Trump saying to his advisors, you're fired, the economy's bad? It's never going to happen. What about President Obama? Can you imagine him saying to the cabinet, you're fired, go home, the economy's bad? So that's a wrong step to take. Do not cut your advisors. The last wrong step that chiropractors make is they fire staff, they cut staff. Think about it. Why did you hire your staff? Because they're great. And economies change. All economies that are good get bad, and all bad economies that are bad get good. And when the economy turns, you're going to need your staff. But if you've released them to the pool, what happens now is they'll get sucked up by another chiropractor, another industry, whatever, and you've lost that great staff person. Now when the things turn around and you need staff people, you're really not going in to the good end of the employment pool. These are the people that have been cut that are left. So that's another wrong step to take. So what are some right steps to take? Well, what are some correct steps to take? Well, number one, you must be proactive. Most chiropractors are reactive and put fires out all day. I have to tell you that when I first start coaching clients, most of the time, for the first, I'd say month or so, it's about putting out fires until I teach them how to become organized and how to become proactive, and then they don't have to become reactive because they're anticipating, so they're not putting out fires anymore. The second thing is chiropractors typically are not very organized, so you must improve your organizational skills. And you must spend time on your business, not just in your business. And you must learn how to run a business. Let's go back to number 2 for a second. When I say you must spend time on your business, you must be able to train your staff. You must be able to create budgets. You must be able to generate profit and loss statements. You must be able to do your notes. You must be able to spend time on your business. And in order to learn how to run a business, we need general business skills. You must know how to read a profit and loss statement, a balance sheet. You must know how to calculate return on investment. You must know how to do a cash disbursements book. And you must know how to create budgets. If you don't know those basic business-oriented things, then I recommend that you get a book, go back to school, whatever you need to do. We're also positioning our clients in a defensive posture and an offensive posture as we go forward. I know that sounds like an oxymoron, but let me explain. Defensively, what my clients are doing is we're having them build up cash reserves that are equal to 1 year's personal and 1 year's business expenses. Now, I understand that you probably don't have an extra $40, $50, or $60,000 lying around in your back pocket. But what I'm saying is make that your goal and start small. I don't care if you put $2 a day away, $2 a week away, whatever. Put something away to start building up your cash reserves. The next thing that we're doing is we are creating an offensive approach, that we are creating very large strategic-based marketing campaigns. When I say very large, it doesn't mean large budget. It means a number of campaigns that cross-refer and also separately, singularly refer, and they're all based in strategy. Start creating better thoughts, because our thoughts create our reality. Let's talk about the power of thought and the laws of attraction. You know, you are like a magnet. You are either attracting people and things into your life, or you are repelling people and things out of your life. And the power of thought is so important, because thoughts create feelings, feelings create actions, and actions create your results. Let me give you an example. Let's say that you're playing a loop in your head. Oh my goodness, I can't believe I said that. I lost another patient. When is the phone going to ring? That gives you feelings of apprehension. It gives you feelings of anxiety. It gives you feelings of depression. Now what happens is your actions occur. You take on a depressed state. Your chin goes down. Your shoulders become rounded. You don't have good eye contact. You talk a little bit slower. You talk a little bit more depressed. And then you get the results accordingly. Let me give you an example. Let's say that you had those thoughts that I just illustrated. Oh my goodness, I can't believe I said that. I lost another patient. When is the phone going to ring? You get those feelings that we just described about depression, anxiety, etc. And now you're going to go in to do a report of findings. So now your actions may be something like this. Mrs. Patient, yeah, you're going to need to come in 3 times a week. I'm pretty sure that we can help you. And the results of that are the patient says, I'll get back to you. Whereas if you had thoughts of, I could do anything and life is great and I'm really confident and I'm excited, those feelings are ones of excitement. You get into a chest-thumping position, your head's back, your shoulders are back, you look ready for action, and you take action. And you do the same report of findings, but this time it goes a whole lot differently. It goes something like this. Mrs. Patient, I'm glad you came in today. And more importantly, I'm very confident we found what the problem is. You told me in the consultation that you're having difficulty lifting your grandchild and that you are the primary care supporter for that child. Well, in order to get you back to give you the best opportunity of allowing you to lift that grandchild, you're going to need to be seen 3 times a week. During that time, we're going to do blah, 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 blah. And the results are, okay, doctor, when can we get started? The beautiful part about this is that we get to choose our path every single day. You can go down that straight, beautiful western highway on the left, or you could take the curvy roads every day. Whatever you choose to do, you have the ability to do that. And the way we do that is, what are your thoughts? If your thoughts are, I can't grow my practice, I don't have money to invest, I've tried it before, it doesn't work, I'm in the wrong town, the insurance companies are against me, the government rules and regulations are not allowing me to grow. Well, if you're thinking those things, well, you're right. Where attention goes, energy flows, and where your thoughts are going to, that's probably what you're going to achieve. Or are your thoughts a whole lot differently? Something like, I will grow my practice and I will find the money to invest. I'll try it until I get it to work. I will succeed anywhere. I will find a way to either increase my volume, or I'll go to a cash model, or I'll do whatever it takes as long as it's ethical and legal to make my practice grow. You see, it's very important to understand the hierarchy of language. The hierarchy of language works like this. Anytime that you have to do something, that is the lowest rung of language. Anytime you have to do something, it sets up resistance automatically. Think about if you were married and your wife said, move the car, pick up your socks, unload the dishwasher. You're in an I have to situation. Are you really going to want to do that? The next level, or the next rung of the hierarchy of language, is I want to do that. You know, I want to move the car for my wife. It's cold out and I want to help her. I want to unload the dishwasher because I know it makes her happy. I want to sets up less resistance. And I love to is the highest rung of language. There is no resistance at all. I love to move the car for my wife because it makes her feel good and I like making her feel good. I love to unload the dishwasher. Let me give you an example. I consulted with a chiropractor, a couple of years back. And his problem, as most people's problems are, I need more new patients. I need. Right there is a word of contraction. I need. So I asked him to describe for me what a new patient meant for him. And what he described was the following. When he gets a new patient, he gets home later. And when he gets home later, his wife yells at him because he's never home to take care of the baby, he's never home to put the baby to sleep. And basically, in his mind, new patient equated to more pain at home. So what do you think would happen? You know, he would instinctively put out the radar, don't ring phone, don't ring phone, don't give me a new patient. Those are how the laws of attractions work. And that's exactly what happened. And his new patients were, I think he'd get like 1 to 2 a month. So he comes on to coaching with me, and we figure out his problem is in organization. Remember, one of the challenging things that chiropractors have are that we're a pretty disorganized bunch. So the first thing that I did was I straightened out his organization, where he had enough time to write his notes, and he had enough time to work on his practice, and so on and so forth. All of a sudden, he had room to be able to see more patients and more new patients. Now when he got a new patient, he wouldn't be getting out at 8:15 or 8:30 at night. He had everything under control, and he would get out in a timely fashion. He went from seeing 1 to 2 new patients a month to about 3 months after we started, he had 15 new patients in a month. For him, that was a record in his entire career. Now he averages somewhere about 20 to 22 patients per month on average. He gets home earlier than he used to. He gets to put the baby to sleep, and life is good. So what words are you using? Are you using contraction words like I can't afford it, I need, or it never worked for me, I'm a failure, or I'm afraid? Or are you using expansion words? Instead of I can't afford it, how can I afford it? Instead of I need to, change it to I love. Instead of it never worked, I will make it work. I'm a failure, I'll learn from my mistakes. I'm afraid, I will conquer my fears. So how do you change negative thoughts? Well, before you give me the proverbial chiropractic eye roll, because I'm going to talk about affirmations, please hear me out. Chiropractors have been doing affirmations since the beginning of time, but my research both personally and professionally has shown me that we may not be doing affirmations in the greatest way, and that we may want to change them. So affirmations are positive statements that we say to ourselves. What my research has shown is if you say something like, I am rich, and your brain says, excuse me, have you seen your credit card statement lately? That becomes a negative affirmation. If you say something like, I am fit, I am skinny, and your brain says, excuse me, have you noticed that you're 75 pounds overweight? Those become negative affirmations, and they actually work against us. So what I teach my clients is to do affirmations in the I am format, provided it gives us an uplifting feeling or at least neutralizes negative feelings. If you get a negative feeling, such as have you seen your credit card statement, what you want to do is you want to put it in the I am working towards. So I'm a great chiropractor. I am working towards becoming financially independent. I am working towards becoming fit. The reason why I am working towards works so well is because your brain can latch on to that. Instead of it saying, excuse me, have you noticed you're 75 pounds overweight? It can say something like, yeah, you know what? I can see that I'm working towards it. I'm working with a personal trainer now. I'm eating differently. Yeah, I can make that happen. So the first way to change negative thoughts are to do affirmations. I teach my clients to do affirmations a minimum of twice a day, morning and night. So keep your affirmations by your toothbrush, and you want to do your affirmations out loud and proud. I am a great chiropractor. I am working towards being healthy. I can do anything. Stick a fork in you, baby. You're done. You see, the subconscious mind works on emotion. The subconscious mind does not know the difference between a real or a vividly imagined experience. Let me say that again. The subconscious mind does not know the difference between a real or a vividly imagined experience. The reason why that's important to you is because whatever loop is playing in your head, your mind will gravitate towards and your action steps will follow accordingly. That's why affirmations are so powerful and so important. I have to tell you from personal experience, when I've had some pretty negative events in my life, the affirmations really pulled me through, so I was able to think more clearly. Professionally, I've seen affirmations as the single most important factor in turning patients or and turning practices around to ways that you can never imagine. So affirmations are done out loud and out proud. The only caveat is if you're walking in the middle of Walmart, you don't want to scream them out loud because people are going to look at you a little bit strangely, but you can scream them in your head. So what I teach my clients is do your affirmations minimum morning and night, and this is the caveat, anytime you have negative self-talk. So for some people, you may be doing them literally thousands of times a day. The beauty is you can't OD on it. It can't do anything but help you. And like anything else, it becomes a habit. And what we're talking about now are habits of excellence. We want to do things that foster good feelings. We want to do things that foster good events. And affirmations are a definite way of going about it. Visualizations, the number 2 method on how to change negative thoughts. It's used in conjunction with affirmations, and what you want to do is visualize what you do want, not what you don't want. We typically do it in reverse. We typically focus on I don't want more bills, or I don't want the phone, or I don't want patients to cancel. We want to focus on what we do want, and you want to visualize it. Back in the olden days, we would literally go into magazines and cut out pictures of what we wanted, put it on a board and visualize that. Well, with modern technology of cell phone cameras and digital cameras, you could take a picture and actually look at the picture and visualize it. So visualize what you want to happen, not what you don't want to happen. Journal writing is a very, very effective technique, and I'm not asking you to write your heart out on a page. What I'm asking you to do is use your journal to create goals. And again, these are habits of excellence. So the whole idea behind journal writing is I write down the steps of what I'm looking to create for the day. So let's say I want 5 new patients today. And I'm going to do it by A, contacting attorneys, B, asking 5 patients for referrals, C, setting up a screening, whatever the case may be. Now the whole idea is to write down the goal with appropriate action steps and then to make sure that you do those action steps. That's my journal writing in the morning. In the evening, what I do is I write down what was successful about today, or what did I learn from today, so I can use that going forward, which will help me. The other thing to do to change negative thoughts is turn off the TV. I'm not telling you to become news ignorant. What I am saying is you don't have to know every nitty-gritty detail. For example, I know that an airliner crashed, God forbid. I don't need to know the gory details of what happened. I know that, there was a shooting. I don't need to know the gory details. I'm newsworthy, and I get my news from Google, and every headline that's up there, I know what's going on. I just don't immerse myself in all of the minutiae of the gore and guts and whatnot. Immerse yourself in positive books. Immerse yourself in positive CDs, in movies, and productive writings. These are the ways that you change negative thoughts. Let's go over some common strengths of successful chiropractors, but I want you to take the word chiropractor out and insert anybody who is successful at anything that they've done. And let me give you an example. Let's think about Orville and Wilbur Wright, the Wright brothers. They're sitting one Sunday afternoon at Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. It's a beautiful day, and they're having a family barbecue. And all of their trusted friends and family are gathered around at this barbecue. And Wilbur yells down, "Hey, can somebody bring me up another hamburger and a beer? Come up, come up. Everybody gather around. Orville and I have some really exciting news to tell you." And they go on to tell their trusted friends and family that they're going to build a flying machine and they're going to fly. What do you think that their trusted friends and family said to them? Of course, they said, "You're crazy. You're going to die. People don't fly. You're going to crash. You're going to burn. You have to be insane." Well, because they had vision and they were able to see the outcome that they wanted, they were able to move past their well-meaning friends and family. You know, they had to be afraid because people don't fly, and people certainly didn't fly back then, but yet they had courage and they acted in spite of their fears. They certainly were creative. They certainly were not accepting the standard norm. They thought outside the box, and they had an inner self-confidence. They listened to their inner voice, not the outside world. Even though their trusted friends and family were telling them that they're crazy, they're going to die, they listened to their inner voice and they knew that they were on the right path. And they had self-control. You know, they did crash many, many times, and they reworked it until they got it right. They were able to see the end game. They were able to see themselves flying in the air without crashing. And they didn't need instant gratification. And as a result, that enabled them to go back to the drawing board and recreate it until they got it right. It's no different for Wilbur or Orville Wright. It's no different for Donald Trump when he almost went bankrupt back in the 70s. It's no different for Warren Buffett. It's no different for any world leader. Anybody who has any kind of success possesses these successful traits, and they are vision, courage, creativity, self-confidence, and self-control. It's very important that chiropractors practice the 3 P's in order to run a successful practice. 3 P's, policies. You must have policies that have been created in this economy. Very, very important. Example, we used to have a policy a couple of years back that we would allow a patient to carry a balance no higher than $300. Well, with patients being literally one paycheck away from being unemployed, we had to change that policy, and now our policy is you can no longer carry a balance higher than $150. Next, procedures. Your procedures must be created in this economy. You know, I evaluated one of my clients' paperwork, and his paperwork was fine. It was an old Parker document from the late 70s. The problem is that there was no place to capture a cell phone number or an email address because those technologies did not exist back in the late 70s. So you must make sure that your procedures are created in this economy, and you must be able to plan ahead so you're able to move your practice forward. What we want to focus on now are 12 areas that you need to focus on in order to transform your business. We've already talked about the improvement of business skills. You must learn how to read a profit and loss statement, balance sheet, be able to do budgets, calculate return on investment, and be able to know these business terms and how to use them. Number 2, chiropractors have been taught forever to do tactical-based marketing. Tactical-based marketing is throw enough stuff up against the wall, and hopefully some of it will stick. I have to tell you that a strategist will slaughter a tactician every single time. And what we teach our clients is strategic-based marketing. Let me give you an example. Let's say that you wanted to do an email marketing campaign. Well, a tactician will buy or procure a email list. Let's say it's 5,000 names. They'll make an email newsletter or an email, and they'll blast it out to 5,000 people, thump their chest, say, "Wow, I'm email marketing." No, you're not. You're spamming. You see, a strategist will say, okay, What's my target audience? Do I want to target 40-year-old headache people? Do I want to target 65-year-old osteoporotic women? Now they're going to know that because commercial clutter is clogging up everybody's email box, then in order for their campaign to be effective, that email better get opened and better get read. That means they're going to put strategy number 1, make a really good subject line. Strategy number 2, once they open it, what do you want them to do with it? How do you want them to react? Do you want them to call, click? What do you want them to do? And everything will have a strategy behind it, and everything will be able to be tracked. So you'll know exactly what's good, what's bad, what's helpful, what's not, what you need to tweak, etc. So strategic-based marketing is vitally important. In new patient acquisition, what we do with our clients is we help them to set up a minimum of 5 and preferably 10 strategic-based marketing campaigns. I say campaigns because campaigns have a very, very specific reason. It could be for branding purposes. It could be for the actual acquisition of new patients. It could be for education. You must have a reason as to why you're doing it. Next, we've talked about this already. You must have an effective consultation and report of findings that was formulated in this economy. You must develop organizational skills. And if you hire and train your staff effectively, guess what? You won't need to fire them. Next, you must use goal setting in the proper methodology. Chiropractors are really good at setting goals, and what made them? No, I didn't. They'll put them in and they'll say goals don't work if they didn't make them, and they'll stop setting goals. We teach our doctors goal setting processes where they're actually workable goals. I want you to think of a speedometer for a second. If you were to drive from New York to California, how often would you look at your speedometer? And if you found that you're doing 95 miles an hour, when would you slow down? Next week? Next month? No, you do it instantaneously. And conversely, if you're going 20 miles an hour in a 65 mile an hour zone, when would you speed up? Next week? Next month? No, you do it instantaneously. Well, that's very analogous to your goals. You see, if you're writing goals and you're putting it in your drawer and looking at it in a month, then you don't have time to make a correction. But if you're looking at them multiple times a day, now you can make an instantaneous correction to help you get closer and closer to your goals. Time management. If you're not getting a full 60 minutes out of every hour, you're losing time. Office procedures, they must be formulated in this economy. Communication skills and advanced leadership I like to lump together, because if I was speaking to you in Chinese right now, we would not be having a very effective webinar unless you spoke the language. You see, your patients and your staff come in with their own language, and if you don't know and understand their language, you will have a very difficult time getting your point across and getting them to do what they need to do. Advanced leadership is about motivation. Motivation is about getting somebody to do something that they may or may not want to do for their best interest. And your practice and your staff is waiting for a leader to show up. And accountability is so important. You know, if you did the things that you said you were going to do, I am confident your practice will grow. It's no different than losing weight. If you stay in your diet and you do your exercise regimen, guess what? You lose weight. But human beings lose accountability, and we don't do the things that we say we're going to do. So a big area of what we do with our clients is holding them accountable to doing those things that they say that they're going to do. Consistency, folks, is the key. I'm not asking you to spend an inordinate amount of time. Spend 1 hour per week, that's it, on each of the 12 areas. Set up accountability, and then create the practice that you desire. But we do have challenges. We don't know where to begin. We don't know what to do. We don't have enough time. We feel overwhelmed. We feel isolated and alone. And we do get results of those challenges. According to a study that was conducted by Catalyst, in 55% of chiropractors are stressed to the point of feeling extremely fatigued and out of control. This is a depressing study that more chiropractors are going out of business than in business in the state of California. The reason why this is so depressing is because as the coasts go, California, New York, and Florida, so does the rest of the country. We have some solutions, though. Create better organization. Have written goals and look at them multiple times per day. Hire a professional coach or a consultant. And I have to tell you, if you're in the market for a coach or a chiropractic consultant, you need to determine what coach is right for you. You see, the highway is littered with chiropractic coaches that have literally failed out of practice and now they're coaching. So if you're in the market for a coach, things that you need to know about. Number one, their program should be custom, not customized. You're a chiropractor, but your practice has its own flavor, its own personality, and so do you. And if you hook up with a management company that customizes their plan but doesn't have a custom plan, what ends up happening is you're a round peg being fit into a square hole. Example, if your management company is a high volume entity and you're not a high volume practitioner, you're going to have a very hard time fitting in. On the other hand, if your practice management company is nutritionally based, that's how they ran their practices, and you're not a nutritionally based practice, you're going to have a hard time. So it's very important that their programs are custom, not customized. Next, the coach or consultant should still be seeing patients today, so they have their finger on today's pulse, not the pulse of years gone by. This is so vitally important. You know, since 2008, the world literally has fallen off of a cliff. And I'll give you an example. Are you doing re-examinations? If you are, let me take a guess. You're probably doing them every 12 visits or every month, whichever comes first. If you're saying yes, you do that, my question is, why are you doing that? The reason why you're doing that is because that's been taught to us since the Jim Parker days in the late 70s. And it's not that that information is bad, it's that that information is dated. Remember, 1 out of 2 of your patients are very uncomfortable with their debt. They have high gas prices to boot, and we have a terrible economy. So what happens now is they're not going to last to 12 visits for you to do a re-examination on them. So that procedure needed to be changed based on the present economy. Another example, I built my practices in New York by doing a radio show. Back when I did them, radio was interactive. You'd put an 800 number out there, and lo and behold, they'd resonate with your personality and become a patient. Well, in 2009, when I came back into practice, I did my same great radio show not understanding or knowing that radio had changed. Radio had changed from interactive to infomercial. And until I figured that out, I was doing very poorly. Once I figured it out, then it was fine. Now imagine if I was coaching you and you said, hey Paul, I'd like to do a radio show. And I say, that's great. I did a radio show. As a matter of fact, that's how I built my practices in New York. Let me teach you how to do a really great interactive show. And I teach you really great information. But it's not germane to today's economy or procedure. You will fall flat on your face too. So the thing that you need to understand is that most coaches or consultants literally have not seen a patient in 25 years. So again, I'm not saying that the information that they're teaching you is bad. What I am saying is that the information is dated. And if it's not derived in the present economy, you're going to have a real problem in making it work. It's important that the company analyzes you and your practice before they tell you what they can do for you. If you hear this from anybody, it will only take one more new patient in order to pay for your coaching. Please run as quickly as you can the other way. You see, I teach the business of chiropractic. And in any business entity, you have to know the downside risk. And in the downside risk in that scenario, what happens if you don't get that one more new patient to pay for your coaching? Now you're going to be spending lunch money or rent money, and that's a problem. So it is very, very important that the company analyzes you and your practice before they tell you what they can do for you. And you should never have to sign long-term contracts. You know, if your coaching company is as good as they think they are, then you're going to want to stay with them. It's real simple. They shouldn't have to tie you up with a contract. Very important, do not sign long-term contracts. There should be a money-back guarantee. You should never feel pressured, and you should feel comfortable talking to your coach about anything. And you should ask your prospective coach about his or her business experiences. You know, I don't think you'd want to go to a marriage counselor that's been divorced 22 times. Well, the same thing here. Like I said before, there are many coaches that have literally failed out of practice. You want to go to a coach and have somebody coach you who has done what it is that you're looking to do. They should be punctual. They should be accessible via email, in between calls. They should be organized, and they should give you a clear plan of how they're going to help you achieve your goals. And they should know how to run a business, not just a practice. Ask them what qualifies them to be a coach or a consultant. Ask them how many active clients they have, and do they have specific strategies for your practice growth, and how are they different from their competition. I said before you should not have to sign a long-term contract, but I do recommend that you give yourself a minimum mental time frame of 1 year to work with your coach. It takes time to create direction and strategies which will ultimately create growth. You should get a 4-to-1 return on your investment. So for example, if you're spending $1,000 per month, you should be making an extra $4. And you should be able to ask your coach or your consultant anything without fear of embarrassment. Let's compare some statistics. On the left are Inselman coaching statistics. From 2008 through 2012, my clients are up an average of 145%. On the right, the average chiropractor, according to Chiropractic Economics, from 2008 through 2012 was down 25.8%. Some Inselman coaching statistics. My programs are 100% custom made for the individual client. No two clients are coached the same. Everything is done from the ground up for that individual client. I offer a 100% money-back guarantee. I still see patients. I am accessible 24/7. And I'm very proud of the fact that I was the one that blazed the trail with no contracts. Up until about a year or two ago, most companies had you sign an 18 or a 24-month contract. We never had contracts because my belief is I should never have to coerce, seduce, or force anybody to stay with me. If I'm as good as I think I am, guess what? You're going to want to stay. And if I'm not good, then why should I bind you by virtue of a contract? Or if you just don't want to coach anymore, why should I bind you by virtue of a contract? So we never had contracts, and we never will. Like I said before, my clients are up an average of 145% from 2008 through 2012, and I am very proud of that statistic. 12 of my practices are multi-million-dollar practices, and they grew on average 5% in 2012. I get results, or we don't work. If you don't do your part, I will let you go, and I will not coach you. And if I don't do my part, I'm going to request and require that you fire me. So this is results oriented. We are going to get results, or we are not going to work together. So if you were an Inselman coaching client in 2008, on average your income would have risen $275,932. That's a 145% increase. What does that buy? A whole lot of gas at $4 a gallon. You can eliminate credit card debt. You can buy a his or her Carrera Turbo, no less. You can get 4 years tuition for 2 kids at any college. You can get a nice cash down payment for a house, and you can build quite a retirement fund. How do we do it? We do it with the Elite Coaching Program. It is a total and complete custom one-on-one coaching program. We block out 15 or 30-minute calls per week. You get my proprietary methods that are created by me, used by me. I make sure that they work here in South Florida. Then I turnkey them out to beta test sites all over the country. In the North, the South, the East, the West, and the Midwest, and Canada. I make sure that they work, that they're duplicatable, and we test them for a 6 to 8 month period of time. Once we know that they're duplicatable, we then go ahead and we start to give them out to all of our clients. Let me give you an example of how this worked. I realized about 2 years ago that chiropractors leave about 10% of their income on the table due to no-shows. What that means, if your practice is doing $300,000 a year, you're leaving approximately $30,000 on the table. What I started to figure out is how can I decrease that, and I was playing with a texting program where we would text our patients to remind them of their appointment. Well, we used that for about 7 or 8 months, and we brought our no-show rate from 8% down to under 2%. So I knew that we had gold there and that this was going to be something great. But before I can recommend it to all of my clients, I need to make sure that it's duplicatable. So what I did was I sent it out to beta test sites all over the country, had them use it for 8 months, and when we saw it was duplicatable, we then started to roll it out for all of our clients. Now our clients are using them, and they've enjoyed decreasing their no-show rate down to manageable levels. When you go to a coaching company, please ask them how much they've invested in their learning curve. My methods have been formulated in this economy, and they have been created on a $2.5 million learning curve. What is the investment for our coaching program? The investment ranges between $250 and $1,500 per month. And what we do is we discuss those in a free consultation with no obligation, where we sit down by phone and we go over exactly what your needs are, and we figure out what custom program is going to help you achieve your goals, and then the fee is derived from that. So, don't you think it's time to end the roller coaster practice? We do. How do you do it? Well, you could sign up for the free consultation. You could do that by emailing me at inselmancoaching@gmail.com. You can go to our website, www.inselmancoaching.com. If you scroll down on the right side, you'll see a link there to schedule for your no obligation free consultation. Or if you want to write the URL down, timedriver.com, that's on the screen, you can go to that, and that will put you right into my appointment book, and you could schedule for your free no obligation consultation. We take about 30 to 45 minutes. We go through a history with you. We'll figure out if I'm able to help you. I'll tell you and tell you specifically how I can, and we'll tell you what the fees will be. If I can't help you, I will tell you that also, tell you why and what I think that you need to do, and then we'll go from there. I want to thank you for joining today's webinar. You've taken the first step on creating a very, very meaningful consultation and report of findings for yourself and for your patients. You know, folks, chiropractic is at a crossroad, and I am confident that by learning these methodologies and helping yourself one step at a time, you'll be doing wonders for your practice, for your community, and for your patients. My name is Dr. Paul Inselman. We thank you for joining this webinar, and we'd like to see you again in the future. If you have any questions, feel free to call us at 888-201-0567. Again, you can go to the links that are on your screen, and you can schedule for that free consultation at your leisure. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a great day.